This particular Saturday lunchtime, Woolworths on Goodwood Road in the borough of Deptford has a delivery of saucepans, and they are stacked on a table upstairs, gleaming cleanly. No one has seen a new pan for years, and there's an eager crowd of women round the table, purses ready, kids too small to leave at home, brought along to the shop. There's Joe and Valerie with their mum, wearing tam o' shanters knitted from wool scraps. Alex with his spindly knees showing beneath his shorts. Ben gripped firmly by his and looking slightly amazed as usual. Chunky Vernon with his grandmother, product of a household where they never seem to run quite as short of the basics as other people do. The women's hands reach out towards the beautiful aluminium, but a human arm cannot travel far in a 10,000th of a second, and they seem motionless. The children stand like statues, executed in flesh. Vern's finger is up his nose. Something is moving visibly, though even with time at this magnification. Over beyond the table, by the rack of yellowed knitting patterns, something long and sleek and sharp is coming through the ceiling, preceded by a slow tumbling cloud of plaster and bricks and fragmented roof tiles. Amid the twinkling debris, the tapering cone of the warhead has a geometric dignity as it slides forwards. The dark green bulk of the rocket pushing into sight behind, inch by inch. Inside the cone, the Amatol is already burning. Shoppers, saucepans, ballistic missile. What's wrong with this picture? No one is going to tell us. Joe and Alex, as it happens, are looking in the right direction. Their gaze is fixed on the gap between the shoulders of Mrs. Jones and Mrs. Callaghan, where the rocket is gliding into view. But they can't see it. Nobody can. The image of the V2 on their retinas, but it takes far longer than 10,000th of a second for a human eye to process an image and send it to the brain. Much sooner than that, the children won't have eyes anymore, or brains. This instant, this interval of time, measurably tiny, immeasurably vast, arrives unwitnessed, passes unwitnessed, ends unwitnessed, and yet it is a real moment. It really happens. It really takes its necessary place in the sequence of moments by which 910 kilos of Amatol are delivered among the saucepans. Then the burn line touches the metal. The name for what happens next is brisance. The moving thread of combustion, all combustion done, becomes a blast wave pushing on and out in the same directions, driven by the pressure of the livid gas behind. And what it touches, it breaks. A spasm of deformation, of dislocation, passes through every solid thing, shattering it to fragments that then accelerate outwards themselves at the forefront of the wave. Knitting patterns, rack, glass signs hanging from chains, reading haberdashery, wooden table, pans, much darned brown worsted hand-me-downs, served three siblings, horn-buttoned winter's coat, skin, bone. The size of the fragments is determined by the distance from the centre of the blast. Closest in, just particles, then flecks, shreds, morsels, lumps, pieces, and furthest out, where the energy of the wave is widest spread, whole mangled yard-wide fractions of wall, or doors, or flagstones, or tram-stop signs, torn loose and sent spinning across the street. The blast goes mainly down at first because of the shape of the warhead, through the first floor and the ground floor and the cellar of Woolworths, and into the London clay, where it scoops a roughly hemispheric crater before rebounding up and out to the pulse that carries most of the shattered fabric of the building with it. A dome of debris expands. The shops to left and right of Woolworths are ripped open to the air along the slanting upward lines of the dome's edge. A blizzard of metal jags and bricks flakes scores Goodwood Road both ways. The buildings opposite heave and sag. All their window panes blow inward and stick in the walls behind in glittering spears and splinters. In the ground, a tremor pops gas mains and grinds the sections of water pipes apart. In the air, even where there is no upbraiding grip, no flying rain of bricks, a sudden invisible jolt of intense pressure travels outwards in a ring. A tram just comes round the far bend from Lewisham, rocks on its rails and halts, still upright, but through it from end to end passes the ripple that turns the clear air momentary as hard as glass. At the very limits of the blast, small strange alterations take place, almost whimsical. Kitchen chairs shake their way a foot across the floor, a cupboard door falls open and hoarded pre-war confetti sprinkles out. A 1 ounce weight from the butcher's right next door to Woolworths somehow flies right over Goodwood Road and the street beyond, to fall neatly through the open back upstairs window of a house in the next street beyond that and lodge among the undamaged keys of an Underwood typewriter. Joe and Valerie and Alex and Ben and Vernon are gone. Gone so fast they cannot possibly have known what was happening, which some of those who mourn them will take for a comfort and some won't. Gone between 1/10,000th of a second and the next. Gone so entirely that it's as if they vanish into all that copious immeasurable nothing just below the rickety scaffolding of hours and minutes. Their parting time is done. They have no share anymore in what swells and breathes and tightens and turns and withers and brightens and darkens, in any of the changes of things. Nothing is possible for them that requires being to stretch from one instant to another over the gulfs of time. They cannot act or be acted on, cannot call or be called, do or be done unto. There they aren't. Meanwhile, the matter that composed them is still up there, in the crater, but it cannot ever, in any amount of time whatsoever, be reassembled. That's time for you. It breaks things up, it scatters them. It cannot be run backwards to summon the dust to rise, any more than you can stir milk back out of tea. Once sundered, forever sundered. Once scattered, forever scattered. It's irreversible. But what has gone is not just the children's present existence. Vernon not trudging home to the house with the flitch of bacon hanging in the kitchen. Ben not on his dad's shoulders crossing the park, astonished by the watery November clouds. Alec not getting his promised ride to Crystal Palace tomorrow. Joe and Valerie not making faces at each other over their dinner of cocker-leaky soup. It's all the futures they won't get too. All the would-bes, might-bes, could-bes of the decades to come. How can that loss be measured? How can that loss be known? Except by laying this absence now and onwards against some other version of the reel of time, where might be and could be and would be still may be. Where by some little alteration, some altered single second of art, back in Holland where the rocket launched, it flew 400 yards further into Deptford Park and killed nothing but pigeons, or suffered a guidance failure such as crude mechanisms do, and slipped unnoticed between the North Sea waves, or never launched at all. A hiccup in fuel deliveries meaning the soldiers of Battery 485 spent all that day under the pine trees of Waffenau waiting for the ethanol tanker and smoking and nervously watching the sky for RAF mosquitoes. Come, other future. Come, mercy, not manifest in time. Come, knowledge, not obtainable in time. Come, other chances. Come, unsounded deep. Come, undivided light. Come, dust.